Hello everyone, welcome back to a new video from phonesex Dollhouse Academy. Welcome and thank you for being here. Today we're going to be talking about 10 tips you need to know to succeed as a phonesex operator with Deandra, myself, your phonesex Dollhouse mistress. Okay, guys, I have been doing phone sex now professionally for about 15 years. I don't do videos, I don't do any of the extra stuff. This is totally anonymous and it is just amazing. It is an amazing way to make money from home anonymously. And yes, you can make a good living off of phone sex, and I'm going to teach you how to do that. So make sure you subscribe to my channel, make sure you show my videos some love, leave comments, all of that fun stuff for tips as to how to get started. And guys, just letting y'all know, down in the description, I do have an ebook. It's only $5. Go check it out. If you really are interested in this, if you really want to get started, go and check that out. And here soon, I will be having a option to schedule a one-on-one chat with me. I will help get you started. I will help you figure out your personas, your platforms. What do you say during a call? How do you go about finding pictures for models if you don't want to use yourself? All of those tips and tricks and everything that you need to get going and get started in this, I've got you. So if you're interested in that one-on-one chat option, right now I don't have the link as of the recording of this video, but it will be up soon. So go ahead and drop your let me know that you'd like some information, and I will drop my Gmail into your comment section. That way you can contact me and I will more than happily help you get started with this. So again, don't forget to subscribe, and let's get right into the topic, guys. What are we talking about right now? We again are going to be talking about the 10 tips you need to know to succeed as a phone sex operator. And tip number one, you are going to be talking on the phone. This is a work from home, but you're talking on the phone. So your voice is your main tool. Take care of your voice. If that means drinking some teas to make sure that your voice doesn't sound raspy or anything like that, taking cough drops, making sure you're drinking water, making sure that while you're on your calls and whatnot, and just in general, taking care of your voice. That means not screaming too loud at people, if like your kids, family, whatever kind of annoys you and all of that. If you're a screamer, guys, make sure that you kind of start toning back on that, especially if you want to learn how to be a phone sex operator. So make sure you're taking care of your voice. This is your number one tool. I cannot stress this enough. Just like singers and voice actors, because now essentially you are a voice actor. Some people will say PSO, some people say phone sex operator, phone actress, because we are acting out a fantasy with the caller on the other side of the phone, right? Whatever they're asking you for and playing along with the role play and all of that, we are acting. So you are now an actress, and actors and singers who use their voice a lot as their tool, and now yourself, have to practice with your voice, have to do a lot of different things to make sure that you sound correct for your given call. And we will definitely get more into that as we go by what that means. But guys, practicing different tones. Like, for example, right now, I'm just talking normally and I am speaking to make sure that I am trying to get through to y'all to understand this. This is one specific tone, but what if I wanted to sound angry, right? Well, then I'm going to sound angry and I'm going to go ahead and change it up because maybe the caller may want me to sound like this, or if I get upset, instead of like this, right? It just depends. So practicing the tone of voice, practicing how loud and how low you want to speak, speech patterns is really important. You're going to get a whole bunch of different calls. You're going to get a lot of different questions and requests as you go through your phone sex career for different things. And guys, I've got a picture here of the Miss Marilyn Monroe. We are going to take a page out of her playbook. So Miss Marilyn Monroe didn't actually have, and this is something too, you can look at modern actresses and singers today. Miss Ariana Grande, right? Ariana Grande. She changes her voice. If you go and look for videos of her and put in Ariana Grande changing voice, Marilyn Monroe changing voices, different actresses will do it. Why? Because the voice is the tool. Different characters require different voices. Different emotions that you want to convey require different voices. So picking your favorite actresses, kind of playing along with them. Miss Marilyn Monroe, the reason I have her on here, she is considered to be the sexiest voice ever. Something about the way she spoke. She would drop her voice down low and she would speak slowly, and it was very breathy. So she was pushing her breath out of her mouth as she spoke, and it was very intentional, and it sounded very sexy. It would drive men and women crazy back then, does it now. So guys, it's important to practice this. It's important to take care of your voice and whatnot. All right. Google videos, YouTube videos. Go to YouTube University and find voice practicing, pitch, sending tools for actresses, actors, things like that. Or find your favorite model, your favorite actor, and try to mimic what they say, how they sound, things like that. This is super important. So that's going to be your tip number 1, guys. Okay, so moving on to the next tip. Tip number 2. So tip number 2, guys, create a captivating persona. So again, we are actresses, and again, we have a picture of Miss Marilyn Monroe right there because we're going to take yet another page out of her playbook. Creating a captivating persona. As a phone sex operator, again, you can use yourself, you can use your own images if you want to do that. All the more power to you. If you do not want to do that, I will teach you and I will help you find pictures and images of models who actually sell their images so that you can use them for this purpose. They are legal, they are legitimate, they are 100% already vetted by different companies that are for this purpose. So guys, I will be dropping the link down in the description for those sites. And if you do not wish to use your own pictures, by all means buy them. I personally have 6 different characters that over the years I have used with 6 different models. I have legally over the years bought in the rights to pictures, to videos, images, all of that to these different individuals, to these different models. So you can do it by yourself. Use your own pictures, your own everything. Do it from like your face down if you'd like. I also have a page where I've done that. Or you can, like I said, buy images for different models so that you can show a face, and maybe you want to keep your anonymity, and that's amazing and very possible to make money like that too. But for these characters you are making, and you don't have to make 6, create 1, create 2, however many you want to do. You want to know everything about your character, and you want this person to be as real as possible. So what is your character's name? How old are they? Did they go to college? Did they not go to college? If so, what college did they go to? What were their crazy college experiences? Do they drink? Do they not? Do they party? Do they just kind of sit at home for the most of the time and like read books? If so, what books do they read? What interests them? What are the movies that they like? Just like in school, we would go through character development in English class, and a lot of y'all hated it. I know because I was a teacher for a while. I want you to sit down, write down in a notebook the who, when, where, why. What did she do? What did she like? What makes her happy? What makes her sad? What music does she like? What music does she hate? Or he, of course, your character, whatever your character is. Give your character a life. Give your character their traits. And guys, you don't have to make up everything. Give your character some of your own traits. These are things that you're not going to forget. So, for example, all of my characters are Sagittariuses. Why? Because I'm a Sagittarius. I know about the Sagittarius sign. I know some of those characteristics. And that would be another tip right there. So, a tip 2.1, I guess. look for a astrological sign and give your character those given tips. They could be yours, they can be another one, but then you'd have a point of reference, right? Or you can ask ChatGPT, make up a character that enjoys whatever they enjoy or don't enjoy or whatever, right? Use the tools you have at your disposal and make this as easy as possible for yourself. But grab a notebook, pick a character name that you really enjoy, that you really like. So some of my character names are Sarah. So I have Sexy Sarah, then I have Allie, and then I have Deandra, which is this character you are listening to right now. Those are just three of them, right? But anyways, I love it, and it's so much fun getting to play a different personality every single time. So pick your given character, give your character personality traits. And that last tip right there, give your character your own traits. Again, my characters are all Sagittariuses. Their birthdays are all at some point in December because it's easy for me to remember. All of my characters love going to the beach, and that is the picture that I have right there, bringing it back to Miss Marilyn Monroe. Marilyn Monroe, there are so many pictures of her. We can Google Marilyn Monroe at the beach. There's many shootings of like photo shootings where she went, modeled at the beach, took pictures at the beach, vacationed, and there's many interviews because Miss Marilyn Monroe, of course, created this persona of Marilyn Monroe. Her real name was Norma Jean. Norma Jean said at some point when she was young, Norma Jean isn't going to be famous. Norma Jean isn't going to be a big star, but Marilyn Monroe is. Marilyn Monroe is blonde, so she went and she dyed her hair blonde because at the time that she was trying to be in film and movies and be a model, the I guess appeal of the time was a blonde. She decided Marilyn Monroe wears the red lipstick, so iconic red lipstick. She decided Marilyn Monroe has a birthmark on her face, and she literally would paint that on her face. I don't know if y'all know this, but that famous birthmark on her cheek, on her side, is not real. She literally would paint that on her with makeup and all of that, created this persona of Marilyn Monroe that we all love um, and get to enjoy videos, interviews, all of that of her. But one thing that she did carry from her childhood as Miss Norma Jean was her love of the beach. So she said, Norma loves the beach, so does Marilyn. So those are her traits, her personality coming through, right? So keep some of those personal personalities that are traits that you um, want to share with your callers. And of course, it doesn't have to be everything, guys, but certain things, right, that you would definitely want to share with them. So just kind of keep in mind, what would those things be? And again, make a notebook, sit down and literally write all of these things out, because once you understand yourself and the persona you're trying to be on these calls, it's going to be easy to connect with the caller. It's going to be easy to understand, what do you want to talk about? What would you like to talk about? What type of callers are you going to attract into you, and who do you want to speak with, right? That's also another important thing. All right, guys, so moving on to tip number 3. Tip number 3, set your boundaries and be professional. I can't tell y'all how important that is, guys. Setting your boundaries and being professional. Yes, we are creating a fantasy scenario for the callers, a fantasy world, but it does not mean you need to be uncomfortable. If you are uncomfortable, your caller will not feel comfortable because it comes through. So if there's something you will absolutely not talk about, or that makes you gag, or the idea of it is like, ill, no thank you, then please let your callers know, or list it in the profile. There are many people who listed, I will not speak about topic A, B, and C, which is totally fine because there are other people who will talk about those topics. So those specific callers can go look for them. But the topics you are willing to talk about, there are other people who will not talk about them. So for example, myself, I will not talk about baby diapers on adults. The idea of it makes me gag. I do not like it. But I know that there are many other callers who will talk about that, who don't mind talking about that. And that's fine by me because there's other topics and other callers that I do enjoy talking to that love to talk to me. I am not a aggressive person. So when it comes to BDSM calls, I'm very submissive. There are a lot of people who like, and a lot of callers, men callers, who like to have that dominant woman. And sometimes they will message me or ask me, do you do these types of calls? And I will nicely and professionally, because you are a professional, you are a business owner now, you are your own boss, tell them, hey, I'm sorry, I don't talk about that, but I hope you find somebody that you can have fun with. Literally, that's all it has to be, guys. And if somebody calls you and asks you that right off the bat, like, hey, do you have any limits that are off limits or any topics off limits or anything like that? You tell them what it is. Maybe you talk for a minute, and if that, they hang up. But you're not wasting your time. You're not dragging a conversation you feel uncomfortable with along, and you're not going to be making the customer also waste their time, because nobody likes to be in a call like that. And then the potential backlash would be that they leave you a negative review or a negative comment, which is never a good thing, because callers will look at those and then they will decide, do you want to talk to this person based on what others have said, right? So we definitely want to try to avoid those negative comments and those negative interactions. But all of that aside, if you are absolutely unwilling to talk about something, just let them know. And you do not have to. And that's your boundaries and that's what you've set. So, for example, I love the dark calls. I will go into any dark fantasy that a caller has and we will delve down deep into it. But I have a friend who does this also. She will absolutely not talk about certain dark topics where I love it. I will have fun with it and I will extort it to the most sickest point you can think about. And that is just kind of how it goes. But she does great. She has her callers and I have my callers, and we're both attracting these individuals based on what we are and are not willing to talk about. And again, guys, being professional, being nice, is always going to be important. One time I had a caller call me. Literally, we talked for a minute. He asked, hey, will you talk about this topic? I said, I'm sorry, I don't like to talk about that, or I don't do those types of calls. He said, okay, thank you. Have a good day, whatever. Then he tipped me $10, literally, for just telling him and not wasting his time or anything. So just be mindful of that. Or maybe at the very least, they may leave you a nice comment, right? Or like a 5-star or whatever review, which is always helpful too. So be professional, set your boundaries, and just let them know you won't talk about this, but you will talk about all these other things, right? And there's a lot of fun to be had about all of us, or by all of us. So don't even worry about it, guys. So now let's go into tip 4. Tip 4, study to build your creativity. So one of the biggest issues and things that people tell me, because I've helped several of my friends over the years start as phone sex operators. What do I say? I don't know what to say, or I don't know how to start, or whatever. And I always tell them, and this is what I did as well over the years. You have to study. You have to study the different fetishes, study the different fantasy topics. From now on, I'll say fantasy topics because I don't exactly know if I can say that word, even though I might have just said it. So anyways, different topics, guys. Like I said, do your research, Google them. Google what are the different words, what are the different acronyms and whatnot, if that is the case. And then from here, this goes back to tip number 3, study the different topics. Are there topics you feel you'd be comfortable talking about? If there are, great. List that on your profiles. That goes back to tip number 2, creating your persona. If you're willing to talk about under or young, I'm trying to say it in a different way, age play, we'll say it. If you're willing to talk about that, make your character a character that would appeal to a caller looking to talk about that. If you're willing to talk about dark male, make your character or your profile a character that would appeal to somebody interested in those topics. But again, if you're absolutely not going to talk about dark mail or forcing or things like that, you can list these topics are absolutely off topic for me. And you can block people too when they ask you for these topics. Don't be scared to block people if you are like, this is what they want and I won't do that. Block them so that you and them do not see each other again, do not find each other again. So you can do that. Like with me, like I said, I do that with anybody that that will ask me about diapers on adults. Like the thought of it's just ugh. I did have a call one time and it was a 2.5 hour call. The person was very nice and everything else. So I did make good money off of him. However, I was literally talking to him the whole time, trying not to gag, and I did a really good job, but I almost threw up. And I'm not trying to say it's negative or bad. People who are into that, people who like that, go for it. That was the very first time I encountered that type of a call. This individual actually sent me pictures of himself in a diaper, and I was like, bleh, bleh, bleh. Throughout the call, but I would cover the call, turn my face, and like I said, it was a 2.5 hour call. And then after that, I literally just blocked him. And anytime I see somebody, diaper boy 1098, diaper whatever type of reference, I will not take those calls. So guys, going back a little bit to tip 3, but tip 4, studying these topics. This is going to help you with tip 3. You can also Google what are the most popular fantasy topics that people like to talk about, Read books, go onto websites, read short erotica, guys. That will definitely help you with the whole what do I say. And guys, don't read them in your head. Be alone somewhere, read them out loud, practice saying the specific things that the stories say. There's a website called Literotica. I will drop some good websites and book suggestions down in the description. So watch movies, that's right. Go watch some POR. You know what I'm talking about. That way you can kind of see, what do I say? What do I describe? All of those types of things. So anyways, guys, tip number 4 is to study. But you're studying a very fun subject, right? And you're also studying with the intent of learning how to say what you want to say, how to express yourself on a phone call. What would you even like it to? That is going to be the main focus of this study session. Would you like talking about these things? If you can sit there, read something out loud and not feel grossed out by it or any kind of negative feelings or whatever, you can more than likely carry a conversation, a fun, genuine conversation that you will like and that somebody else will like about that given topic. So studying the fetishes, the taboos, all of these things, very important. This will help you with what do I say? How do we keep them talking? All of those types of things. So again, go down in the description. Check that part out, guys. Okay. So now, tip number 5. Study your platform. So in addition to studying the topics, you need to, whatever platform you choose, whether it's Talk to Me, niteflirt, Loyal Fans, OF, whatever, make sure that you study the platform in the very beginning. Figure out the key basics of how it works. I'm not saying don't take calls until you study every aspect, because then you may just not end up taking calls. Some platforms are more elaborate than others. Some platforms allow you to do more things than others. So, for example, how do you get more exposure? On some platforms, you can literally pay, and it's like pay per click, and you put in a certain amount, you invest, and the higher you want to come up on the page, the more you'll pay, and it'll actually tell you. So that, for example, would be niteflirt. There's other websites like Talk to Me where it's a combination of things. You do not pay for higher exposure to come up on the top couple of pages, but it has to do with how many hours are you logged into the program, how many calls are you taking, how well are the callers responding to you, are they leaving you good feedback. All of those things have to do with whether or not their system, their algorithm will promote you in the top 3 pages or like on page 30, right? So the more active you are, the better the responses you're getting and all of that on Talk to Me and Cougars.com, which I actually made a video about last time. So go back and check that. I will link it at the end of this video. Will give you more exposure. Um, is there a referral program for that specific site? Can you refer other callers? Can you refer other customers? And if so, how do you go about using that program? A lot of people do not know that certain companies such as niteflirt and Talk to Me have referral programs for customers, and you're leaving money on the table. So figure that part out, guys, from the very beginning. On talktome.com, I had that going. I've gotten a lot of money over the years from referral programs that they offer. And the first 3.5 years or so of that program, I did not even know it existed. And it's existed forever. So check that out. So how much commissions do you earn? Certain platforms will give you a different amount. That will determine or help you determine how much you want to charge. And of course, all of that's always up to you at the end of the day. So just kind of study that a little bit. And then how can you contact callers? Or do callers contact you? Or is it a both type of scenario? Like, does it go both ways? Can we both contact each other? Different platforms have different ways of doing these things. And then, of course, whatever platform you choose to use or platforms, make sure that you know the rules of them. So, for example, there are platforms that you may absolutely not ever in a million years talk about dark mail or very dark topics, which again, I just said I love talking about dark topics, and I will talk to somebody all day long and get dirtier and dirtier than they will. Where I have a friend who won't, right? But those are our boundaries going back to one of the previous tips. But on this one platform, I know I have to behave and I can't get as dark as I would on another platform that has absolutely pretty much no rules at all. And that's probably my favorite one because I can get as dirty, as naughty, as dark as I want on that platform versus the other one where I know that if I get that crazy and that dark, I will get banned. So make sure that's probably the most important one right there, that you know the rules of your given platform that you've chosen. All right, so that's tip number 5, y'all. And again, drop your questions down below in the comments, in the descriptions. Check the description, guys, for any given comments and stuff. All right, so tip number 6 is practice active listening. You must practice active listening, guys. And the best way to do that is to keep your mouth closed as much as possible. So for forever ago, I used to be in sales and somebody told me, close this, and he was pointing at my mouth, and open your ears. This applies here so much because we want the callers to tell us as much about themselves as possible. Sometimes you're going to get super chatty clients and they're going to go ahead and they're going to call you and you're going to ask them one question and they're going to talk for 7 minutes, which is the best, right? And then sometimes you're going to have to pull questions and answers out of them, and it's going to be like dragging teeth, like asking kids, hey, how's school? What did you do at school today? Nothing. Okay. How's your day? Good. Yeah, some people are like that versus other callers that'll be like, oh, so tell me about this topic. Why do you like it? What about it turns you on? And they will talk for the next 10, 12 minutes, and you just love it. So ask many, many questions. How do you carry a conversation? How do you keep them talking? You ask more and more questions. And guys, this is going to refer to one of the tips coming up, but take notes. Most platforms, and again, back to tip number 5, most platforms will give you a section to take notes about your callers as you're getting them. So take full advantage of that. So for example, if you have a caller on a platform and he mentions some random thing, that his favorite beer or favorite drink is whatever spiced latte, whatever, and it's only available from like November to December, next time you talk to him, maybe in like a week, you'd be like, hey, have you had that whatever spice latte drink? Oh, you remembered that? Yeah, because you took notes and you cheated, but you're not going to tell him that. You're just going to be like, of course I remembered. I remember you told me that, right? So, little cheat sheet there too, right? But tips, guys. So, right there, taking your notes when available. All right, practicing active listening, but that is one thing. If they tell you, oh, this is my favorite drink, this is my favorite sports team, cool. Well, have you ever been to a game? Oh, why do you like that drink? What is it about it that you like? And should I go try it? I mean, I really don't like pumpkin, but tell me why I should try it. Oh, it has cinnamon? Cool. Whatever, right? Keep them talking and be authentic. Just have like a normal conversation with them like you would with the best friend. So that was probably one of the best tips that somebody gave me forever ago when I was starting. Pretend you're just talking to your best friend on the other side of the phone. But of course, you're getting a little bit naughty eventually, right? Um, so that right there, guys, is tip number 6. Now, tip number 7, keep notes, which is what I just referred to a minute ago. What kind of notes do you want to keep? Grab a notebook, brand new notebook, and you are going to, like I mentioned earlier, when you create your character persona or characters, I want you to go through that who, what, when, where, just like you did in school. Figure out all of their traits, when is their birthday, all of those fun things, and write it down, especially in the beginning, especially if you're going to have more than one character. This is important. So figure that out. So that's one thing you would want to keep notes on and you would want to write down. What type of calls is this character suited for versus this other character? So, for example, I have a character that is super depraved and crazy and whatever, and those are my darkest type of calls. But then I have another character that's more seductive and more elegant and whatever, and she's more of like a mistress, a naughty neighbor, those types of things. Versus this one is just going to be like dark and sick. And yeah, we're going to get into it, right? Um, so just keep those personality traits in mind. Keep a notebook to keep these things in order. Also, like I said, studying, watching movies, studying fantasy topics, making notes of those things. What would you say? What does a caller who likes this type of a call like to hear versus a caller who likes that type of a call? What are some key things that I can say or key phrases? Write them down so you can repeat them to the callers. Because if specifically there's a phrase that this person really likes to hear versus that person with that topic in mind versus this topic in mind, say those things. And it all kind of fits together, right? So, platforms and login details, emails, social media, promotional accounts, all of these things, guys, you will over the years, over time, create so many of them for this specific job because you will have multiple platforms that you may be wanting to try out. Try out, start with 1 or 2, and then add more as you go. Login details, social media accounts for your different characters. Yes, I totally recommend making a Twitter or X and a whatever other account for your specific characters. You don't have to put up many pictures or anything, just like a couple of pictures and a couple of different things for promotions. So, all of these things you want to keep notes on. And then, of course, now you are a 1099 worker. Congratulations, you totally work for yourself. You have to keep track of all these things for your taxes. How much money do you make? How much are you investing in this business, in yourself, as you're going along and getting everything done? So your phone, guys, your phone line, you will be able to put that on your taxes. So what do you pay for your phone bill, for your cell phone and all of that? Tech, did you buy a computer? Did you buy a camera? Maintenance. I have Geek Squat on my taxes for the past couple of years because I was making money and literally had almost no what is it? No expenses. Because once you get set up, guys, other than your phone, you really don't need anything else. And if you already have a laptop and all of that, you can't even write that off, because when it comes to products like this, and I know because I also worked at H&R Block for a couple of years, you can literally write off the item the year you buy it, then you do a little bit of depreciation. But if you already bought it a few years back and you've had it for at least 3 or 2 years, you cannot depreciate the computer itself, even though you may be using it to log on and work and stuff. But the year that you bought it, yes, you can, and for the remaining 2 to 3 years also. However, Geek Squad, that is like a yearly thing. I can take my computer to get fixed, maintenance, all of that. I can write that off. Any trainings you sign up for, books that you buy, personal growth classes, things like that, that are going to specifically help you with this, those are going to be write-offs for your taxes. But again, grab a notebook, just go to like Walmart or whatever and get a 3 or a 5 subject 5-star notebook, or it doesn't even matter the brand, just first that came to mind, and just one section for each of these things, guys. Doesn't need to be crazy, doesn't need to be elaborate. It could even be like on a Google sheet if you're techie and if you like that. I personally like to have it written down, but it is up to you and whatever you want to do. All right. So that is our tip number 7. Again, drop your questions down below, guys. And tip number 8, stay in control of the conversation. Stay in control of the conversation. This is important because sometimes you're going to have callers, and these annoy me and piss me off all the time. But you're going to answer, be like, hello? Oh, yeah, suck it. Whatever. And they're obviously already enjoying themselves, and they've probably been enjoying themselves, we'll say it like that, for about an hour, and they're going to call you for all of 2 to 3 minutes because they just want to hear you say oh or moan. And no, you're not going to do that. You're going to be like, yeah baby, tell me. Suck what? Right? Something like that. And you want to ask them questions. Again, how this takes practice, but how do you take control of this conversation? Tell me, baby. Ooh, yum. What am I looking at? Then he's going to be like 8 inches of whatever. And you're going to be like, oh, baby, let me grab it. But tell me, what do you look like? Right? And you're going to keep them talking because that is always your goal. And don't let them be done under 5 minutes. Like, no. If they want that, create a quickie line, which I also have a quickie profile, and charge $5 a minute. And yeah, we can be done in 2 minutes, but I'm gonna make $7.50 off of this call. You know? So don't let them be done in 2 minutes or 5 minutes or less. Like, no. Even a 10-minute call is like, no. But that's obviously up to you guys. And yeah, sometimes it gets away from you. But these guys that call you and literally start the conversation like that, or get naked, jump in the bed, like those callers, they're probably going to hang up on you in like the next 2 to 3 minutes anyways. And if they do that, again, block them, because you don't need no 1-minute caller. You don't need no 1-minute man or whatever just calling and wasting your time, making you answer the phone for absolutely like $1 or whatever you're going to charge or get per minute. So you don't need those. So stay in control of the conversation. This takes some practice over the years. Like, it's literally just, yeah, like give them a little bit of what they want to hear, but ask them a question, make them talk, make them give you information. Okay, guys. And again, I will be dropping a link, but for now, y'all can use my email address. Let me know if you would like to jump on a one-on-one call with me. We can definitely practice some calls. We can like do, what's it called, like role playing and stuff with each other. And I will teach you how to do that and how to kind of get away with that a little bit more. But yeah, just know that those people do call. Those people are out there. And sometimes they're probably going to hang up on you that quick, and that's okay. Just freaking block them, because you don't need them wasting your time like that. And tip number 9, be consistent. Be consistent and create a schedule for yourself. So like I said, congratulations, you are now your own boss. And it is highly advised that even though you're working for yourself, even though you're working from home and whatnot, you have a set schedule of when you're going to work. For some people, it's when their kids are at school. So maybe it's from like 9 a.m. to 3:30 because then they need to leave and go take care of whatever in the afternoon. For some people, it's whenever everybody at home is now asleep. So it might be from 11 p.m. to like 1 a.m. or 2 or whatever. But the more consistent your schedule can be, and I'm not saying you have to only be on those hours or 100%, stick to those hours because again, you create your own schedule and you're on when you're on and when you can be on, which is what's awesome about this opportunity. Like you do what you will need to do with your schedule, but try to have some consistency because callers will ask you, so when are you available? Because I'm typically available during my lunchtime. I'm typically available on these days at this time or my days off or whatever, right? So it is highly advised that you do create a schedule. I try to be available for my callers during the day sometimes, but that doesn't always happen. However, my people know that when they can find me, it's from like 7, 8 p.m. Central, probably till like midnight or 1 a.m. But if there's a given day where I'm like, I don't want to do this, I don't want to take calls today, guess what? I'm not going to take calls that day. But for the most part, they know that they will find me on those days. And those hours, like every other day or whatever. And then sometimes I will be online during the day when I'm available, right? Because again, we control it. It's up to us when we are going to be there. And that's just like a little extra. And they're like, oh, and I'll get that all the time. Hey, you're on, you're available. Like, well, you're not typically on during the days. And they'll get on and they'll call me and stuff. So just try to be consistent with a schedule. Try to create a schedule for yourself, just like you would if you had a 9 to 5 type of job or a job where you had a set schedule. But now you're the boss and you're setting your schedule. So it's just a little bit different and it's practicing discipline and all of that, which, guys, I can tell you, I absolutely had the hardest time whenever I went from my job and having a 9 to 5 and a set job and all of that to doing this full time and going totally on my own. So it is a difficult transition for most. It was for me. So just kind of have grace with yourself if that's the case. All right, so tip number 10, be positive, have fun, be enthusiastic. And guys, just allow yourself to play with this, allow yourself to have fun. I don't think as adults there is any other type of a job, at least not in my experience, where we are allowed to just play and have fun and be naughty and not have any kind of weird or crazy consequences. In fact, we get paid for this, we get rewarded for it. So have fun with it. This is a fun job. Yes, there are certain things that we have to put up with. For example, just like a typical boring, old, whatever 9 to 5 job, like I just mentioned, the schedule and all of that. But at the end of the day, you get to be at home. You get to work from home. You get to set your own hours. You get to talk to people and get to know people and learn a lot about people and about everything that maybe you might have not known about. Like, there are definitely things I've learned as a PSO over the years that I don't think I would have ever known about had I not been doing this job. Plus, again, it is the freedom that it gives you. So try to be positive because, for example, when I'm having a bad day, because yes, they happen, like I've had days where I've logged on literally all day long and I'm talking like from 10 a.m. to 5 or 6 in the afternoon, or even longer. It was more like 8 or 9 p.m., literally almost a 10, 12-hour shift. And I made like $40. And I was like, where are my people? Where are my callers? Like, what the hell? But I got to be at home. I got to enjoy myself. And I wasn't running around. I wasn't in traffic. I wasn't being told what to do by anybody else or anything like that, right? Or having to be out and about doing crazy manual labor, right? So, or like Ubering, driving around the town all over the place for maybe even about the same amount of money, right? Um, Sitting in traffic, things like that. So just be keeping that positive mindset having fun with it and being enthusiastic, knowing that, hey, you know what, that one day I did make $50, but the next day I remember logging on, working like 6 hours, and I made a little over $460. So just keep it in mind, guys. It evens out. Um, and this is a job where you could potentially, in a couple of hours, make what you would in a full-time position. So right now, guys, and I've got my math down pat, I make $75 an hour. If I talk for 2.5 hours, I make $187 that day for 2.5 hours of being on the phone. And if I were doing my old job, being there from about 7 a.m. to 4:35 p.m., I've only lost about $25 that day. Am I sad about that? No, because I'm gaining so much freedom and so much more in that, right? Because again, that's 2.5 hours of talk time, of work time. I'm not going to only do 2.5 hours, especially at this point. Once you build your callers, your regulars, and all of that, I'm talking for 4 hours a day or 5 hours a day, and they're coming and going in and out. And it is fun, y'all. And then the next day, I may not log on at all. So that is basically that very last bullet point right there. If you don't feel like doing this, guys, if you feel like my brain is done, like, oh my God, where are my callers? And you're getting upset like I was that day, I stuck it out though. But if you feel like, you know what, maybe I should just log off, or if you just had a really great call and you're like, you know what, I talked for an hour and a half and I've made about $80, which is what the typical what is the word, like full-time typical job is going to give somebody after taxes and stuff, then log off, enjoy your day, enjoy your time. But it is definitely a mindset shift. So that's going to be tip 10. So that was your 10 tips, guys. If you follow these tips, you will start making good money as a phone sex operator. I promise y'all. So tell me what you think. Tell me what questions y'all have. Drop the questions, drop the comments down below. Like the video, subscribe to this channel. And again, if you would like a one-on-one chat with me, if you want to set that up, go ahead and email me to the to the email address that I'm going to put down below in the comments. For now, I will eventually put the link for the one-on-one chat. That is definitely coming. And feel free to check out my ebook if you liked this video. Also, if you are planning or would like to really learn how to use talktome.com and cougars.com, which are essentially the same sites, go back and watch the other video on this account, and feel free to subscribe, support, let me know your thoughts, and I will catch you on the next video.